if my maths is right, Matt Lowe starting the other night was the 21st player to start a league game for you in 11 games this season. Does that tell us that you've not been able to select your first choices as often as you would wish to through injury and suspension? Or does that say that you're perhaps still searching for the right formula?
It's good that we've had 21 players to choose from, to be fair. You know, we started off the season, we did have quite a big clear out. And we ended up with about 20 recognised, what you would say is more established players, and then 8 or 9 youngsters who have had to be called upon. And I think you'll see that as the season pans out. From going really well with the injuries and thinking that we were over that curse, we've been really blighted with, you know, a really bad one to Seb, which I feel for him. A strange one for Coley, which we still get a chance to get to the bottom of. A bad one for Toby. And the skipper having a reoccurrence of last year's problems. So we went from within a week of having clean bill of health to having 4 taken away from us for a significant period. And then you add to that Jay Rich getting sent off, so you lose him as well. So all of a sudden, and then I haven't even mentioned Sean McConville. So within a blink, you've got five players, you know, at least 4 of them are starting out the team. And your experience goes out. Your experience goes out the window because we haven't got experienced players to replace them. You know, if you think about, you take Sean and Seamus out of our team, and then you've got Sean Worley, Kelvin Miller, and then your next one is Joe Pritchard as senior pros. So that's been a big problem. And we've got a lot of young lads who are very, very good footballers who are going to get better. And sometimes we have to go through a bit of pain with them.
Just on Seb Quirk, would it be fair to take from what you just said that is worse than you anticipated when it happened?
Oh yeah, it's an injury that very, very rarely occurs in footballers. So that's the severity of it. That's a worry. And you know, it comes down to him running at full speed, getting pulled back, and he suffers an injury. So, you know, that's unfortunate. It happens in football.
Can you put a time frame on that, or is it still very...
No, we've got to wait until he sees the specialist next week.
Just the other side of losing players, how well has this younger group done? Kind of almost the young group behind an already pretty young group. Your substitutions the other night, for example, people like Dan Martin and Aaron Pickles coming in and you not having any hesitation on throwing them in. How valuable is that you can put faith in those young guys?
It's good, and Dan's been with us a long time, been around the first team a long time. Been a little bit unfortunate, Dan. You know, he's a fantastic footballer. Everyone knows, or people should know, and people who were in the club know how much he's rated at the club by both the staff and the players. And he just needs to stamp his authority on the game a little bit more, and Dan can play a lot of games for us. Got no issue with that. Young Aaron is learning the game. Game is a pebble. How a pebble can be game is a matter of conjecture.
You're the only person I've ever heard say that.
But he is, and you know, it won't be for the want of trying and learning. He's got a great character about him, and he's a very, very good footballer.
In the longer term, can this help you? If you are seen to be picking a lot of young players, developing young players, giving them league experience, will that help recruit younger players going forward?
Well, the idea about bringing the 23s in, you know, and I know that's being watered down now, but the idea of bringing the 23s in was to make it easier to recruit at 14 and 15, 13, 14 and 15, because then there is a clear pathway. So if I had a son, I would be looking at what's his best route into first team football, because lots of players can get bogged down in academy football, and so the 23s was a stepping stone to get into the first team, and some players have used that really well, i.e. Liam Coyle and Tommy Lee, to name but two. You know, Liam Isherwood has knocked down the first team, and he's benefited from them games as well. And Adam Pickles, the same, playing in that bridging space has helped him as well. But we would have liked to have got more of them through. You know, and the situation that we're in now, we had to, something had to give. We're getting relegated, and so we still have got sort of a where we can play games as an under-23s. But in a cup that can be competitive. But you know, we've got to cut our cloth accordingly. And I think that the more young players you get through your system into the first team makes it more of an attractive proposition for players when they want to sign. So if I even go back for nearly 45 years, my good school friend Tommy Kane, he had the choice of every top tier club in the country when he was 16, and he went to Man City because he believed he was going to get a chance of playing first team football, and within 6 months he was in the first team. So players will be attracted by the opportunities that are afforded to them, and you know, if we can see that we're being success stories, or we've got success stories, then it might attract the better raw material that you get, which then you can hopefully make better.
You as a manager are judged on results and what happens out there on the pitch. Is it okay if you don't win games because of inexperience, because of players making mistakes and learning from them? Or are you in too much of a right here, right now environment to allow that?
See, now I can't get right here, right now, out my head now, can I? Getting it, honestly, it's never okay to lose games. So, there's a manner you can lose games in that gives you encouragement or hope for the future. But it's never okay to lose games, and it's never okay to hide behind excuses like we've got young players in, you know, we've got injuries. It's not okay to do that. They might be valid excuses, but if you're going to use them before you start, you beat before you start, and we'll never take that route. You know, we are what we are, and we've got good lads who are very, very enthusiastic about playing football. We've just got to try and bring it out of them more, bring them out of the shell more, the youngsters. Give them the experience, give them the feedback from what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong, and try and incrementally improve them as we go on throughout the games. So if you look at Brad Hills, for example, I'm sure Brad Hills this time next year will be a much better player than what he already is, which he already is a very good player. But this time next year, if he's got that many games under his belt, he's got to improve. He's got to improve by the nature of he's had to make decisions. And decision making is key in football, and people overlook that. The best players, the top players, make them very, very early, and they get them right more often than not. And, you know, we're giving them the opportunity to make decisions.
I think you were a lot happier with Morecambe the other night than Stockport at the weekend. How do you improve on that for Forest Green at home to turn a point into 3?
Yeah. You look back at it, and I looked at the game. I told you I watched the game on Sunday and I watched the game on Monday, so I watched 6 hours of that game. Stopping and starting. And we weren't as bad as what I thought in the first half against Stockport. The fact is, they took the 2 chances that they had. Now, Morecambe could have took 2 chances. I mean, we could have been talking had the same conversation. You can't govern a little bit of luck here and there, you know. And if you want to compare them, so they had a shot straight at the keeper on Tuesday, and John stopped it with his legs. They had a shot on Saturday, and it went through his legs. He didn't open his legs on purpose to let it go through. It just, you need that little bit of luck. You need that little bit of luck to keep the ball out your net. And when we watched the game back in Stockport, they didn't really trouble us in the first half at all. Everyone thought that, you know, Stockport were brilliant, and, you know, Louis Barry ran us ragged, and Louis Barry had probably 2 or 3 runs in that game, but because they were quite eye-catching, that's the lasting memory you have. And so we've got to be level-headed as coaching staff, and we've got to accept that everything we do is in the players' hands. So everything that is reflected on us, and everyone's perception of us, is how your team plays. Now, you can set your team out to play a certain way, and they don't, but yet you still get the blame for it. So that's part of the job, and you've got to accept that that's part of the job. And the more experience you get, you know that's part of the job. The problem that you get for younger managers is they don't get the time. So they set out to play a certain way. The players don't play. They go, and the players don't. The players don't. You know, so you're always in the hands of the players, and you're always trying to get them to play as well as they can. You're always trying to educate them and pass on your knowledge and your experience. And as I've said before, we're lucky in the fact that we've got 2 really good coaches in Jimmy and John, who deliver very, very good coaching, very good analysis of the game. And I'd like to think some of the coaching points that I put in as well as adds value. And I think because they take predominantly most of the sessions verbally, and I view and step in now and again, I think when I do step in, it adds more weight. And I think that's a good balance that's worked for several years for us. I'm nodding again, trying to reaffirm I've got to stop doing that. And you've got to stop doing that eyebrow thing like we're going to McDonald's. So, and, you know, there's a way that Accrington play that's been very evident over the years. It's very high tempo, very passionate. And there's been a lot of skill involved, and people sort of detract from that skill. When other managers, it riles some of the other coaches. I know it riles John. That, you know, managers say, "Oh, we know what to expect from Accrington. They're big, they're strap aside." They don't give us credit for the passing. That we've opened teams up year after year, that we've scored some fantastic goals. You don't really get the credit for that. They're a big team who wins games from set pieces. You know, that's a load of nonsense.
You've got Forest Green this weekend, a team who've taken all their points away from home so far. From looking at them, why have they done so much better away from home than at home? Possibly
the way they play the game. And the way they play the game might be better suited to a counter-attacking team. We've watched them, and, you know, we've got to come up with a plan, and we've got to try and transmit that to the players and make sure they carry it out. I think because of the nature of how long we spent on Monday analysing the game, and maybe we have to do this a bit more, it was evident in their head the way they wanted to play better. They wanted to pass the ball better, and we did pass the ball better. Still nowhere near as good as what we can do, but it was a step in the right direction. And so we've got to formulate a plan to try and counter the way Forest Green will play. And that's a nice little music interlude.
Well, that was nice, wasn't it?
Good.
You talked about young managers coming into the game. Forest Green, David Horseman, come from academy football in a first-team job, late 30s. If you put yourself in his position, how difficult is that, perhaps compared to when you did it in non-league football in a similar kind of age range?
Yeah, I mean, I've come in a similar kind of age. Having all my background in non-league football and then managing a non-league football team. So when you come from academy football, you generally the players are technically better when they're not getting put under as much pressure. so they will be technically better as well. They will be able to carry out simple drills and simple passing movements that you tend to incorporate in the team. When that comes to the bullets in the gun and there's 3 points at stake and there's a lot more pressure on the players, it's difficult. But people have to start somewhere, and people have to learn. And I know how hard it was initially, trying to get all my points across. You know, luckily, you know, he'll have time. We only could work 3 hours training, and most of them because we were part time. So we'll have time to get his philosophy, his ideas across to the players, and they need time. You know, these younger managers, they need time to get that across to them. It's not going to be an instant fix, but give them the time. That's what people should do.